For the first time in 54 years, the al-Assad family is no longer ruling Syria. Rebels who'd been fighting government forces for 13 years swept through Syria in 2 weeks, capturing Damascus, taking the Syrian people and the world by surprise. Dictator Bashar al-Assad appears to have fled the country, and we are reminded this morning of the horrors from his reign of terror. His brutal suppression of anti-regime protests in 2011 sparked the world's largest refugee crisis. Since then, the mass atrocities became too numerous to detail, the death toll impossible to tally, including due to the regime's use of chemical weapons against civilians. Assad dared to test whether America and the world would stop him, something then President Obama chose not to do militarily, even after he crossed that so-called red line. Here's our Bob Schieffer's report on Assad's chemical weapon attack from 2013.
The death toll in what appears to be a poison gas attack in the Syrian civil war continues to rise. By some estimates, as many as 1,800 people may have been killed. Rebels blame the Syrian government, which continues to deny any responsibility. Whoever is responsible, perhaps nothing can better help us understand the horror of Syria than this video of a mother telling her small child goodbye, almost as if she is hugging her goodnight and tucking her into bed.
President-elect Donald Trump met Saturday with French President Emmanuel Macron, as well as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who is lobbying for more aid from the U.S. and NATO allies in his country's war with Russia. In a post on his Truth Social website early this morning, Mr. Trump blamed Assad's defeat on the entanglements of his allies, saying Russia lost all interest in Syria because of Ukraine, and along with Iran, Russia is in a, quote, weakened state right now. Trump called for an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine, saying that Zelensky and Ukraine wanted to make a deal to stop the madness. We begin our coverage today with our Imtiaz Tyab reporting from the Turkish-Syrian border.
Scenes like this would have been unthinkable just 1 week ago. Syrian rebels in the heart of Damascus celebrating the fall of the regime, with the whereabouts of President Bashar al-Assad unknown. As people wept for joy in the streets, shouting freedom. Some rebels appeared on state TV to announce Assad's removal. His stunning defeat was at the hands of an alliance of armed groups who launched a lightning-fast offensive seemingly out of nowhere, and who face little resistance from the Syrian army. The rebel forces say they have now, quote, fully liberated a number of major cities and have also emptied prisons filled with those who dared to stand up against Assad's rule during the country's nearly 14-year civil war. A war that, up until now, had seemed frozen, even forgotten. But as the statues and monuments to the Assad dynasty continue to be pulled to the ground, the family's blood-soaked half-century of authoritarian rule passed from father to son is now over. 10 years ago, at the height of the civil war, which was born out of the Arab Spring uprisings, Assad was then just barely clinging to power. But Russia and Iran, along with Lebanon's powerful Iranian-backed Hezbollah militia, came to his rescue and tipped the war firmly in his favor through a punishing campaign of well-documented war crimes, including indiscriminate airstrikes and chemical weapons attacks, a brutality against his own people that's hard to fathom. But Russia is now preoccupied with its war in Ukraine. Hezbollah's leadership has been decapitated after a year of bitter fighting with Israel, and Iran, along with its other proxies, have also been degraded by Israeli strikes. Assad's 24-year rule looks unlikely to be rescued or resurrected, ushering a new but deeply uncertain era for Syria. And a key leader of Syria's armed opposition, Abu Muhammad al-Jilani, who belongs to a group known as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which used to be aligned with al-Qaeda, has forbid anyone to go near the buildings housing Syria's state institutions, signaling the rebels want to support a peaceful transition of power. But the power vacuum left by Bashar al-Assad is enormous, Margaret, and the fear is these groups could soon turn on each other and begin a new, perhaps even darker chapter in this already ugly civil war.